The drama surrounding the Indiana Fever has reached a boiling point. Just hours after their playoff elimination, the front office detonated a bombshell that no one saw coming: 8 players released in a single night. In an instant, what had seemed like a promising foundation for the future was torn down to its studs. The league was stunned. Fans went silent, scrolling through social media in disbelief as names rolled across their feeds. It wasn't a tweak. It wasn't even a rebuild. It was a purge. And it sent one unmistakable message to the rest of the WNBA: the Indiana Fever were done playing nice. Behind the scenes, this wasn't chaos, it was calculated. Sources inside the organization say these moves had been weeks in the making, the product of months of frustration, power struggles, and philosophical battles between head coach Stephanie White and the Fever front office. The breaking point came when Indiana, despite boasting one of the brightest stars the league has ever seen in Caitlin Clark, fell flat once again. The potential was undeniable. The results weren't. To the front office, that was unacceptable. Whispers had been circling for weeks that something big was brewing. Players could feel the tension thickening like fog in the locker room. Some called it the calm before the storm. Others knew it wasn't calm at all, it was the quiet hum of a franchise ready to explode. When the final buzzer sounded on their playoff hopes, management didn't hesitate. Agents were notified. Lockers were cleared. 8 players, gone. Overnight, Indiana had wiped its slate clean. The decision wasn't just about performance, it was about identity. For too long, the Fever had been caught between systems, unsure whether to build around structure or freedom, around veterans or youth. But Caitlin Clark's arrival changed everything. She was the franchise now, the face of the WNBA's next generation, the player whose mere presence sold out arenas and rewrote TV ratings. The Fever could no longer afford to experiment with mediocrity. The plan had to be bold. The team had to fit her, not the other way around. That was the heart of the internal war brewing in Indiana, a battle between old-school control and new-school instinct. Coach Stephanie White had built her career on discipline, set plays, and structure. But Clark had thrived on chaos, the beautiful, calculated chaos of read-and-react basketball. Her brilliance wasn't in following plays. It was in seeing what no one else could and turning it into art. And as the season wore on, that clash became impossible to ignore. Reporters caught glimpses of it during games, the moments when Clark hesitated mid-possession, glancing at the bench for a signal instead of trusting her instinct. You could almost see the gears grinding inside her head, the weight of playing against her own nature. Her frustration showed in flashes: the tired expression after missed possessions, the forced smiles during post-game interviews where her words were polite but her eyes said more. "I just want to play basketball again," she'd said once, softly, almost wistfully. Fans understood exactly what she meant. The front office understood too. They watched the tape, analyzed the numbers, and saw what every fan could feel: the Fever's offense wasn't built for Caitlin Clark. So they did what desperate franchises rarely dare to do. They tore it all down. Names like Natasha Howard, Lexi Hull, Sydney Colson, gone. Veterans who had once defined the Fever's culture were suddenly cut loose. To the public, it looked ruthless. To management, it was necessary. They weren't just cutting players, they were cutting habits, hierarchies, and an entire mindset that had kept the team stuck in the middle. The Fever's future, they decided, would no longer be dictated by seniority or comfort. It would be dictated by fit. The locker room, once filled with chatter and laughter, fell eerily quiet. Some players packed in silence. Others hugged, cried, or vented to reporters off the record. The shock of it all rippled through the league. Rival coaches texted each other in disbelief. 8 players? In one night, one insider reportedly said. But as harsh as it was, the Fever's front office wasn't apologizing. Their vision was clear: rebuild fast, rebuild smart, and build around Clark. That vision went far deeper than the court. Money played its part too. The mass cuts freed millions in salary cap space, giving Indiana the flexibility to sign players who actually fit Clark's high IQ, up-tempo style. No more slow, rigid rotations. No more sets that forced her off the ball. From now on, The Fever would be built to run, fast, free, and fearless. Inside team meetings, Clark's college coach Lisa Bluder's Iowa offense was reportedly referenced as the new blueprint. The same system that had made Clark a phenomenon: fast-paced, read and react, free-flowing basketball where creativity wasn't punished but encouraged. Insiders even joked that the new rule of thumb was simple: if you can't shoot, cut, or move, don't bother showing up to camp. It was the dawn of a new identity, Iowa on steroids. But not everyone was convinced. Critics accused the Fever of caving to star power, of turning into a one-player franchise built on hype. "You don't build a team around a player," one analyst said on ESPN. "You build around a system." Yet in Indiana's eyes, Clark was the system. Her instinct, her energy, her vision, everything revolved around it. Behind closed doors, Stephanie White's position grew more fragile by the day. Once celebrated for developing young talent, she now found herself increasingly isolated, her structured philosophy clashing with the free-flowing direction the front office demanded. Insiders say late-season meetings turned tense, with executives pressing for an open offense while White defended her set plays. The Fever's playoff exit, for management, became proof that change wasn't optional anymore, it was overdue. Some veterans backed White, valuing her order and accountability. But younger players? They wanted freedom. They wanted movement. They wanted to play. And Caitlin Clark, though always professional, seemed to quietly agree. One insider described the final weeks as a cold war within the franchise. The purge ended that war decisively. Now, only a handful of familiar faces remain. Kelsey Mitchell, the steadfast veteran who weathered years of losing seasons, stands as one of the few anchors left, her chemistry with Clark quietly blossoming by season's end. Aaliyah Boston remains untouchable, the franchise's steady cornerstone beside its fiery new leader. Together, they're the foundation of a team being rebuilt from the ground up. But beneath all the optimism lies a gamble. By handing the keys entirely to Caitlin Clark, Indiana is betting everything, its culture, its finances, its future, on one player's shoulders. If it works, they'll look like visionaries. If it doesn't, this will be remembered as one of the most disastrous overhauls in league history. Yet, for the first time in years, hope feels tangible in Indiana. The practices look different, faster, lighter, looser. The offense flows. The laughter has returned. And the fans, who once filled the arena with frustration, now fill it with anticipation. Tickets are selling out. Merchandise is flying off shelves. Hashtags like #ClarkEra and #FeverReborn trend every time a rumor breaks. The team that once fought for attention is now the center of the basketball universe. But make no mistake, this new era comes with pressure unlike anything the franchise has ever faced. Every loss will be dissected. Every move will be judged. Every glance between Clark and her coach will be analyzed frame by frame. The Fever have left themselves no safety net. Their future depends entirely on one bold idea: that freedom, not control, will lead them to greatness. The question now is whether that freedom will flourish, or implode. Because one thing is clear, this isn't just a roster rebuild. It's a revolution. The Indiana Fever aren't quietly adjusting course, they're rewriting their entire story. And with Caitlin Clark at the center of it all, the rest of the WNBA can only watch as a new chapter begins. So what do you think? Did the Fever make the right call by cutting 8 players overnight and reshaping everything around Caitlin Clark? Or is this gamble too risky for a young team still finding its identity? Let me know your thoughts below, and if you're following this wild off-season, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Because the Caitlin Clark era is just getting started.